Hey, I decided to do a video response to your post instead of writing it out because it would end up being like tons more because, 500 character really limits me what I want to say sometimes when I respond to your stuff. Um, okay, first off, you didn't offend anybody. You actually were doing it in a way that what you said was more of your personal view rather than anything offensive to anybody. So if you thought you're offensive or anybody says they're offended by you, I don't know what video they were watching because I was not offended by that at all. I understood perfectly what you were saying. I don't understand why human beings in any situation have trouble talking about sex because it is such a sensitive subject with everybody. Even when they teach you about it in sex education classes in school when you're younger, they kind of treat it like, okay, guys, there's no snickering, no anything like that. And they treat it so very seriously. And I'm not saying sex isn't serious because of course it is, but after having it, it's kind of like that's it, right? You know, but yet people can't talk about it. People get flustered and they're called prudish, which I guess they would, but you would think out of everything in the human nature, human condition, whatever you want to call it, sex would be the easiest thing to talk about because it's so normal. And you can't define normal, but it's biological. And you would think that would be the easiest thing for them to discuss about things and say, this is what sex is. I mean, no matter, unless it's like, as you said, rape, molestation, everyone get offs in some form. And yeah, some people are into some freaky things, but, if that gets you off and that's what pleases you, that's fine. I wouldn't know if I would actually say that sex is linked with God. However, I don't know if that's because I'm more spiritual than anything, and I do believe in God. I don't, but I would be more apt to say that sex is sometimes used, some to prove that you're alive, to prove that you have a purpose on this earth, to give yourself a point for existence, I suppose. Because fundamentally, when you come down to it, sex is a way to procreate, and human beings have changed it to be something romantic and something sensual and all that other stuff, even just downright dirty. And I think we've, as human beings, can't understand what actually, I guess, happens to us or maybe what it all means because we are, as a human being, we want to make something more something than it is when I suppose that's what I'm doing right now, because I already said it's biological at its best. It's to create other human life, but we've changed the meaning, which we do have a habit of doing, involving with thoughts and such, that we change the meaning of something. I'm babbling. Just tell me if I'm not making any point to you. I won't be offended. That sometimes, even when people are at their lowest, they'll have sex with another human being. I've done it. I've had sex with another guy, and it's because I want to prove something to myself that, I'm wanted, I feel alive, I feel connected. And I do believe there is a connection, even when there's a connection with just that other person during that one moment where you're enjoying each other's company, enjoying each other's bodies. There's an intimacy level. There's a bond for, however long, the 30-second guy to the, people claim 14 hours straight. But there's a bond, and I think I would agree with you to say that it goes beyond, at least with me and some other people that I know, it goes beyond just having, having an orgasm or, having oral sex or having, you know, man on woman, woman on woman, man on man sex, whatever. I think it goes beyond that. I think for human beings, it evolved because maybe thought, maybe because that's our thought processes. It's just that you feel much more connected with the universe, I guess. So perhaps I'm agreeing with you. I'm just afraid to put the word God in there because I don't know. That's odd. That's an odd thought now. Now that I've just said that, it's you're connected with the universe because lately, even with, like, people are like, oh, I can have sex with any girl, I go to the bar, or, in my days of clubbing, you go sex and see who's gonna have sex, go home with some guy, or, even not even get home, just get to the car or the bathroom. Um, that even looking at them, since I knew them, they were very lonely, depressed, and they just needed to feel something. And again, I go back to that point where someone needs to feel alive, that they have a purpose in this world, that there's something more than just them. And I don't think many people want to think about that. I think many people will just say, well, I hesitant to use bad language because I don't, I got my dick sucked this weekend. And they're like, okay, you know, it has to be something more than just, I got my dick sucked this weekend, because anybody can say that. Anybody can do it. It's just stupid. But I've always felt, even when I was just, randomly hooking up with somebody, that there was a moment where even if I didn't care what they felt, that they were just there. And I was, for 1 second, connected to something bigger than myself, I suppose. And perhaps, in your definition, that's God. Perhaps it's just a connection with the universe for me, or just connection with another human being, and then it was over. And I'm fine with that. When I grew up and I, got a ring on my finger and I'm with my husband, he said something odd to me, because we've been married for 1 year, together for 2. And he said to me that even his last relationship was 7 years, he didn't feel that connection with somebody with sex than he did with me. With me, he felt much more of a connection. And that, we've discussed sex in other forums, because it's pretty easy for us, as a couple, to discuss sex, that for any sex to be involved, there has to be some sort of basic level of connection with something, an intimacy, I guess. I'm just babbling. So I'm going to go, because I'm making lots of thoughts and it's not making any sense. So those are my thoughts. So basically, to sum up, sex, connection with the universe, connection with somebody else. Prove that you're alive. Prove that there's something more than you. Yeah. Bye.